When we groom our harsh-coated breeds, we do something called hand stripping. So we are not taking a clipper and we're not clipping into this jacket at all. We are using special tools, either stripping knives like I have here, or we have our stripping stones, and I'll lay these out for your better view here. So our stripping knives and stripping stones are what we are going to use to groom this dog. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our knife. This is what a stripping knife looks like. We have different types with us today. They're all different gradients and different tooth lengths, and they're going to help us work through this coat. So the way this coat is groomed is not by clipping the hair, it's by pulling out the dead hairs. So her coat is very long right now. It is what we refer to in a wire coat as blown. So when it gets to this terminal length and begins to shed quite excessively, we call it a blown coat. And the way we trim it is by removing it. So we like to take our knife, we grasp the hair, and we pull. You'll notice that Roxy didn't feel any of that or notice. All of this hair is hair that is at the end of its life cycle and wants to fall out of the skin. So essentially it wants to shed. Because of the nature of the harsh coat and the wire coat and the thickness of the hair shaft, most of the time these wire hairs won't shed unless we physically do it ourselves. And the way we do it, again, is by stripping. We can also use a stone for this. Stripping stones are similar to pumice stones, and we use it in the same fashion with our fingers to pluck the hairs. So what happens if we clip into this wire coat? We're going to damage this coat. If we clip and cut into this wiry hair, we're going to soften the hair. The hair will be encouraged to grow softer and more quickly and more frequently. You'll get shedding. You will also might get a color change depending on the breed. The entire function of the coat will be lost. Your dog may develop an odor, might develop some matting in some areas, maybe even some skin conditions. Because the oils on the skin work in conjunction with the wire coat on the jacket so well, if the coat on the jacket loses its integrity and becomes soft, those oils can build up on the skin and cause skin irritations like bumps and rashes. So I'm going to show you guys how to use these tools here. What I like to do with these tools is I like to use them with a finger cut. I like to put it on my thumb, and this is just going to protect my thumb from the teeth of my tool, and it's also going to add a bit more grip. So I place it on my thumb like that. I'm then going to pick a tool. I'm going to grab this one. So again, the way we're going to be trimming this dog is by hand stripping. Basically, hand stripping is grabbing the hair between your tool and your thumb, and you're going to pull. Ideally, when you're hand stripping, you want to be pulling in fast motions, moving along your dog, never focusing on one spot at a time. It's very important also when you're stripping to be using your elbow and stripping straight back towards your body. If you're flicking your wrist or if you're pulling in odd directions, you might be causing discomfort to the dog, and you might also be breaking the hair. When we pull, we want to make sure that none of our hair is broken. A great way to test for that is by pulling the hair. So we have the hair that we just pulled out. And if there is more hair on the top portion where you're grasping with your thumb in the tool than is at the bottom that you pulled, you know you're breaking hair. So that's a good way to test that out. You can also inspect your hairs and see that they all have a little follicle on the end to show that they've all come out of the skin. Another tip for hand stripping a dog is going to be making sure the skin is being held taut while you're stripping. We don't want to be stripping a dog and having their skin be moving all over the place. This can be quite uncomfortable for our dog. I'm going to be holding some of her skin taut, and I'm going to be working in small sections at a time. And you can see that she doesn't feel a thing because this hair is ready to come out. The brush that I like to use is a top coat brush. It's different than a slicker brush because this is designed to work with this specific coat type. We have our synthetic bristles here, these plastic ones, and on the inside we have a more natural, it's a natural synthetic, but it is designed to act like boar's hair or like a horse hair, and this helps the natural oils distribute through the coat. And always remember, when we're pulling hair, we are not grabbing huge chunks of it at one time. We are working in small sections. You can see with my non-dominant hand, I'm pushing the hair back, and I'm grabbing small sections at a time and working my way through her jacket. How often should we be stripping our terrier? That really just depends on the breed and what your preference is. If you like a scruffy looking terrier or harsh coat breed, you might want to strip them maybe once every 4 to 6 or even 8 weeks. If you want to maintain a nice tighter or shorter jacket on your wire-coated dog, it is recommended to strip them at least once or twice a week. It's entirely up to you. Different breeds will have different styles and different sort of rules and recommendations for how often. But again, if it's just your pet, it's entirely up to you about the frequency of the stripping. So I'm just going to start on her back here. And I'm using a coarser stripping knife just because her hair is so long and so thick that I'm going to just prefer to use this coarser knife to work through her hair. If I was going to pick a finer knife, it probably wouldn't be pulling as effectively. And notice how I'm starting in an area and I'm moving forward as I strip. If I overwork an area, we can do something called balding in an area. We just want to make sure that we have nice coverage, even coverage of hair all along her body. If I was to just pick at the same area over and over again, I would eventually be working all of this coat out down to absolutely nothing. So I'm just going to work while moving forward, continuously pushing the hair out of the way with my non-dominant hand. Good girl. Give it a brush. If I can't grasp the hair, I can also put my hand on the other side of her body and hold her skin taut. And now I'm working backwards, still in small sections. And you can see as I'm working, her coat is looking way less bushy and more uniform in length. Border Terriers in particular shouldn't have a very long jacket, so they should be stripped about every week or two. But Roxy is a well-loved pet and she gets stripped every couple of months, which is not a problem. Good girl. And you can see she's quite comfortable with this process. She's very used to it. She's not in any discomfort. And she's just waiting for her grooming to be finished so she can go lay on the couch again, I think. Good girl. Now that I have removed this layer of long bushy hair off of her side, I'm going to transition to a knife that's not as coarse as the one I was using. So I'm going to be using this knife here. Every time you do a couple swipes here, you're going to want to unload your knife, and you'll see that I'm doing that. I'll look at my knife, I'll flick the hair off, and I'll continue along. It doesn't matter the speed at which you're stripping. I strip my dogs. I have personal dogs that need hand stripping, and I also have clients in my salon that require hand stripping, so I hand strip dogs almost every day. So over the last couple of years, I've definitely developed a routine and a muscle memory for this technique. But if you are not stripping as quickly as me, don't worry about it. I'd rather you guys be really focused on your technique. Make sure you're not injuring yourself by rotating your shoulder too much, and also not breaking the coat by flicking your wrist. Just get your technique down and make sure your pet is comfortable with the process. So now that I've gone and removed another layer with my coarser knife, I'm going to switch to a finer knife here. And you can see it's finer because the teeth are closer together. And I'm going to go along and remove some of those shorter hairs. In a second here, I'm going to flip Roxy around so you can see the difference between the small section I've just worked on and an area on the opposite side of her body that hasn't been touched yet. Now I'm going to turn Roxy around, and you can see a big difference from the area I've worked on and the area that I've yet to work on. So we've got a lot of bushy hair here, lots of overgrowth, different lengths. And now I'm going to flip her around again just so you guys can appreciate just a couple minutes of work can do for a coat like this. I'm just going to continue to work on her back.